Welcome people to the discussion with Riki Fridrich.
Hi.
It's right after his presentation. It was great, actually. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. I am Břetislav Proft. I'm working as a front-end engineer at Pipedrive, and I'm also helping with guys to organize frontendisti.cz meetups. So Riki, first of all, I would like to start with one simple question.
Yes.
What plugin developer needs to install if he wants to use async await syntax with jQuery?
Yes. Well, first of all, jQuery. Then they need to uninstall jQuery, and then they can use async await, freely.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
It's a two-step process, but it works every time.
So people online now you can install and uninstall jQuery, and you can use it. So, you're also teaching the React Girls courses, right?
Yes.
So are you also teaching the asynchronous coding?
No, we are doing some much simpler stuff. We are doing a simple game, so that we can have some interactions and something fun that works out of the box.
Okay then. Okay then. And what is your preferred way how to write async code? Is it async await or only the promises?
Yeah, to be honest, I was bitching about async await, but it's actually a very useful, very short syntax. So for simple situations, of course, I use async await. But for anything more complex, I fall back into promises, which I think are really great. And the thing is, when I started with callbacks and then went through promises, and now when we have async await, I still think in promises. So whenever I see the async await syntax, I translate it in my head into promises, and so I have to do some parsing in my head. Actually, it's not my native thinking in async await.
Okay then.
Which I'm not sure if it is a good or bad, but that's how my brain works.
At least you know how it works, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that we had some question in the audience. So, guys.
Yeah. When you call the next method, the callback, the function I put as an argument is called immediately. And we are not waiting for the result, and the next method, if I am chaining, is then immediately called afterwards, and this goes through the wall.
No, not really. The then method is called when the the resolve function inside this previous promise is called. But of course, if wait. Are you asking about regular function or function that returns a promise?
Okay, I'm asking about the delay in the loop, where you have started three timeouts, and all of them have started at the same time. And
yes.
It was like.
But if you remember, there was no call of then. I just called the promise. Even my IDE underlined the call and notified me that I did not handle the result of the promise. So I just called all of these promises in a loop. So I did not wait for anything.
So that was the reason why it was highlighted.
Yeah. That's it. It's a bad practice, but I just wanted to demonstrate. Like with this syntax, you kind of cannot do this thing.
Okay.
Does it make sense?
Yeah, I would need to see the code once again.
I will open the computer after this and we will check it out.
Okay. Yeah, I got lost when I followed the something nothing calling and the callbacks over there. It looks so imperative and go on. I quite didn't see the moment where it just parallels into all the.
Yeah, it was not there. What I was showing, it was just the chaining. The wrapping into either something or nothing, and the chaining. I did not pass any other promises, and there was no async stuff. It was just an explanation of the endless chaining of the then, and then catching at the end.
Yeah, so The answer is you didn't see it because it wasn't there. Okay.
Yeah, it was not there, but you know, it was not complete implementation of promises. It was just an illustration how this chaining works and the sketching.
It was just the jQuery bit.
And you can add, you know, another small layer that will, you know, create functions that expect callbacks, this reject and resolve, and then it will work asynchronously. And then for homework, you can implement the all settled and, you know, all of these methods. That's really fun. Nice. And you can do it with callbacks. Of course, it's all callbacks, and it's a really nice brain teaser. It's a nice exercise to try to implement these methods. And if you can do it, then you understand asynchronous code. You will have no problem implementing anything else.
It's a big if. Okay.
Yeah, but you know, it's an exercise that is there to push you into a level of understanding.
Okay, so I thought that the example you showed, that's the full thing.
Yeah, just add some callbacks into these functions and it will start to be asynchronous. Okay, doesn't make sense?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, like you were showing those AK promises syntax, do you have any like real-life example? Are you using it somewhere in your real code?
Well, these are monads. If you are into functional programming, there are many, you know, monads like this. There are maybe and, you know, functions like maybe and stuff like that. You even have monads that have not just 2 tracks, but many tracks, and you switch between them depending on some state. It's a common pattern in functional programming.
Yeah. Switching between paths, it reminds me kind of state machine.
Yeah, it kind of is.
Yeah, okay then. Okay, so anything else from you guys? Any question from the audience?
No. Okay, so maybe, like in monads.
Yes.
Have you ever used or are you using regularly the plimit library? If you know it.
What's that?
It can imagine that you have a number of promises that you need to execute, and you don't know how many they are. Maybe there are 10 of them, maybe thousands of them, and you can't afford to execute them all in parallel.
Yeah.
So plimit can say, okay, at most 15 in parallel, but do all thousands of them.
Yeah. I don't even know this library, but for this throttling, even before we had promises, before the what was the name, the Q and the Bluebird, that was the first libraries that implemented, you know, promises, that the promises came from. But even before that, there was a library based on callbacks. It was called async.js. And it's really fantastic, and it has a lots of this kind of methods with throttling, with limits. Like you can do something like, I will provide all of these callbacks or these functions that need to be called, and once you execute it successfully, 10 of them stop executing. You know, and then there was throttling, and there were even some really complicated functions like you had the asynchronous loop with maximum number of concurrently executed callbacks and stuff like that. Yeah. So
if you needed to go,
if I needed something like this, I was using the async.js library. It's still, you know, active, but it's based on callbacks. Or when I last used it, it was still a callback library. But yeah.
Thanks.
Anything else, guys? Well, then, maybe, again, with juniors, where do juniors more often do mistakes in asynchronous coding?
They do not understand how async await syntax works. They do not understand that there are promises behind it, and they do not understand what promises actually are and how they work. So they often just randomly try to put keywords async and await at different places until it works. And sometimes they do stuff like, I don't know, they have asynchronous function, and they put the await keyword in the return statement. Like they have return await something, and it does not make sense because it returns promise. So, and you can await only the promise, so it does not make sense to await execution of this promise. You can just return this promise.
No,
and you
not
are
really.
What?
Not really. When you remove the return await, the await one, even IDE is displaying it as a warning, but it's not in a stack trace later on when you are trying to debug it. Really the placing await, even a return await something really helps when debugging and printing the stack trace later on.
But is it only for debugging purposes?
There was one another dark side, and I can't remember. There was even something else, but it's even very well visible when you have stack trace from error, and it's just skipped this file with this method totally. And
interesting. Maybe we can find it then, because in my point of view, doing await in the return statement, it just wraps the promise in a promise. So it's unnecessary layer.
Yeah, it was new to me also. Yeah.
Interesting. Can you send me the link if you will find it?
Okay.
I would like to see it. Thank you.
Anyone? Anything else? Guys, don't be shy.
I have a question.
Yes.
But it's kind of different question. As Břetě said, you are teaching for our React girls, so thank you for that. And my question is, because you are so experienced, is it hard for you to teach somebody who is really in the beginning of the journey? How hard is for you to like?
That's really good question, because I don't know.
Right.
I have started with JavaScript many years ago, when we had Netscape Navigator, and all the JavaScript did was stuff that we do now with CSS, like image preloads and mouse overs. That was JavaScript, or simple form validation. And now JavaScript is, fully used, respected language. Well, maybe not respected, but we will get there sometime. So I have learned all of these things gradually over the years, and I really have no idea. And I ask junior developers what it feels like to start with JavaScript development now, when you have modern syntax, you have really advanced frameworks and lots of libraries and the whole ecosystem around it. And it feels to me like it's too many things at once. So I don't know, during these React Girls courses, we are trying to take it slow, to only show the basic stuff and add a little bit by little bit. But to be honest, if I was starting now, I have no idea where I will start, or it's too many things at once. So I'm kind of thankful that I started when things were simple.
Thank you.
Okay, I have last question. So, guys, anything else? Okay then, just imagine that you want to run many parallel requests with promise all, for example, it doesn't matter, but you want to do it dynamically. That you, based on some conditions, you want to dynamically create the array and then get those answers. Is there any easy pattern how to do it? Because all the time when I saw the code, it was awful and implemented in a weird way. And it's also hard to type it.
Well, what do you mean dynamically? Like to dynamically create the list of promises?
Of the promises you need to resolve.
Yeah, but
you can use map
Yeah, you can use map or filter or anything. You just produce an array.
Yeah, of course, but it looks like ugly, right? You need to, like, if this happens, okay, then put this in. So if we want to do like 10 parallel requests for some APIs, for example, it's based on different conditions. It always looks like 5 ifs, and then you are filling some array. So
yeah, like array push.
This is the preferable way.
Yeah, or destructuring or anything. No, maybe an interesting syntax will be to create an object with some keys and or a map where keys will be the functions that you want to run, and the values will be like true, false, some conditions, and then just by using object not keys, object entries, you can create a simple filter that will just create an array of the keys that are not true and not truthy. And maybe that will be better readable, but I don't know. It's just, you just create an array in any way you can create an array, and there are many ways to create arrays.
So, guys.
One more note, you can use in instead of object entries.
Yes, that will be also nice.
So, guys, you have a last chance. So in that case, I think we are done.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.